Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Buen Provecho. Today we're going to do another simple rice dish, and it's really simple to do with your leftover rice and beans. If you don't have leftover rice and beans, you can make them or buy some canned beans from your local market. That's what I did. I usually take about half the beans and put them in a food processor with some olive oil. We're going to chop up onions, chop up garlic, heat it up in a pan with some oil, and add some chili paste. We're going to let this simmer just for a little bit, because at this point, we're going to add in our rice. As I mentioned, you can use leftover rice because we're going to end up adding some liquid later. After you've put in the rice, put in the first half of the beans that you didn't blend. Next, add the second half of beans that you did blend. If you're adding these ingredients and starting to see the chili paste maybe smoke a little bit or dry out, don't worry about it. In a second, we're going to add our chicken broth. I don't like to add too much broth at the beginning because, as with most recipes, you can always add, but it's very difficult to subtract, especially when it comes to liquids. So what I usually do is I start out with I eyeball about half a cup, and then I just pour in from there. So in the video, I realized that I didn't blend enough beans. So I took a spoon and I mashed up the beans with some of the rice to make sure I get sort of a more pasty consistency at the end. We're going to transfer that to a large bowl. Now that we have our patties, we're going to clean our pan and get it ready to fry. So I use my palm as a model for how big and about how flat you want the tacu. When I first started doing them, I made them too thick. They didn't cook through all the way, but I found that if you make them about the width of your palm and the size of your palm, two cool things happen. One is that it fries really well, stays together, and the other thing is too, it makes it much easier to move with a spatula. Also, it just makes it really easy. You can just use your hand like I do in the video and kind of push things in with your thumb and your other hand. When we're frying things like this, we want to have it on a sort of medium-low heat. I know it's tempting to want to go up. You want to see that sizzle. You want to see that. Slow and steady wins the race. You're going to slide in the tacus. We're actually going to fry a piece of chicken. And in addition to frying this chicken, we're going to flatten the chicken. I didn't have a meat tenderizer, so I just used a potato masher. Worked pretty well. To bread a chicken is actually a three-step process. First thing that I did is I covered it with rice flour. I used rice flour because it has a very fine texture, and you can get into all the nooks and crannies really easily. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to place that in our egg wash. So for this final step, I'm going to take the egg wash chicken, put it in one hand, sprinkle it with breading on one half of it, flip it to the dry hand, and sprinkle breading on the other half. Put the chicken into the main fryer. As I said before, you want to make sure it's on that lower to medium heat. Next thing that we're going to fry is something that I actually have not fried before, which is plantains. So we're going to switch over to the smaller pan for this one, and we're going to cut the plantains lengthwise into thin strips. Put them in the oil, let them fry. So now that you have your chicken and your plantains fried and ready to go, you're going to plate that. And for the last thing that you're going to do, we're just going to fry an egg. If you don't know how to fry an egg, crack an egg, pour it into the pan, low heat, wait for it to bubble up, and then lay it over your tacu and you're good. As I mentioned, this is a very easy meal to make. It's extremely filling. It was actually the only meal I ate that day while I was making this episode, and it filled me up until the next day. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have fun making this dish. Enjoy, and as always, buen provecho. See you later.